mindful that when we talk about telling our story, we have to be really clear to ourselves that it is, I am talking Alvin's story. I'm not talking about Alvin, an African-American man who happens to be living in Maryland right now story. I'm talking about my story. But at the same time, there was that wonderful comment that they made downstairs about finding your vision and, and then really kind of trying to be true to whatever that vision is. And don't give up the opportunity to change that vision if you need to. So just because you said my vision today is, that doesn't mean tomorrow that it can't morph into something else. But I think one of the things that happens sometimes is, I know for me, teaching here, I have to kind of look at, okay, what are my responsibilities? Being the only black dance teacher on this campus, what are my obligations? And so sometimes I don't necessarily do what I want to do, but will do what I think my students need. And at the same time, what does the field need? Where is the field going? Because I don't want them to be left behind. And so, like, if we start talking about things like Ron K. Brown is doing, that kind of stuff. I mean, that didn't come out of a technique class in the sense, a traditional sense of a technique class. That really came out of a vision of, what are black folk doing as far as dancing is concerned? What are we doing? And how can we take what he was doing in the club, how can we take that to the stage and make it make sense for us? And then, if we really make sense for us, it'll also make sense for them. But part of it is having that vision, that I really want to take that movement vocabulary that I have loved, and it just felt so good, and it doesn't fit into counts of 8 and counts of 4. But, what is it? How do, maybe I can't count it at all. And so then how do I find out a way of doing that? And you find out a way of doing that because that's what we've been doing our whole life. I'm watching you. I'm doing it with you, we've always done that. That's how we learned how to dance to begin with. And the other thing is, going back to his comment, is what is the music that's in that? What's the innate music in it versus what is the put upon music? And so just kind of looking at, I personally think every dance step has a music to it. And so as you're putting those things together, there's some musicality that's going on. And how can you make that music make sense? And then, are you going to take a piece of music that already exists, or are you going to say, maybe I need to hire a collaborator so I can create some music that's being created at the same time I'm creating this? How do you make that make sense? And then, if you're using that in the context of a play, and let's say that play is something like, The Me Nobody Knows, then how do I make, I need to I'm using that script, I'm using this vocabulary that's coming out of these people, and now how do I fuse the two so that none of them suffers?